Hi everybody, I'm finally back for another video. It's been a crazy few weeks. I've been moving around. I've been to New Orleans, Chicago, Detroit, all over the place the past few weeks. But I wanted to do a quick video addressing a question that I wasn't really sure that I would get, but it has happened enough times that I think it's worth doing a video. And that question is, how do you afford a Porsche Cayman right out of college? Now it's interesting because a lot of people, when I bought the Miata, would ask, oh, why did you choose the Miata? And that was fun to talk about, and I made a video about that. But when I bought this car, I hardly ever hear, why did you choose that? I much more often hear, how did you buy that car? And I think the number one thing that people don't realize is that it's not as expensive as it looks. But I figured I would try to go through the whole little story, I guess, of how I ended up with my 2007 Porsche Cayman. So, let's start like a year ago when I bought my Miata. So I bought my Miata because I was bored with my Chevy Malibu and I wanted to start a car YouTube page. And I figured, what's the cheapest, fun, rear-wheel drive car that you can buy, sports car? A Miata. It was kind of an obvious choice. So I sold my Chevy Malibu, which my grandma actually gave to me. She sold it to me for like $100, so it was basically she gave it to me. And so I had that vehicle. I sold that for I think I sold it for just under $3,000, and then I had saved up about $1,000 over my summer internship, which was with Fiat Chrysler Motors. Great place to work, but maybe I'll talk about that later. So then I had about a $4,000 budget, and I met a guy through Craigslist, and he was selling a Miata for $5,000, but I talked him down by saying, hey, I'll buy the car and not the hardtop. He had a hardtop that he was selling too. And I was like, look, you can probably sell that hardtop for $1,000, so I'll give you $4,000 cash and we'll be done. So that's how I got the Miata. Loved it, still love it. Right now I'm actually on my way to Chicago to sell it. But there's no way that I'm not buying another Miata in the future. It's been a ton of fun, and like I've been saying, there's another few videos that'll come out about that. But anyway, so that was my senior year in college. I actually had to do an extra semester because I was racing in Abu Dhabi for a semester, but that's another story for another time. So anyways, last fall, last summer, I did an internship at Ford Motor Company, and I liked working there a lot, and I've always wanted to work in the auto industry, so I was trying desperately to get a job in marketing or finance at Ford Motor Company. And so I networked, and I have some family in the company, I'll admit that, which definitely helps, but just networking is really what was the major thing. I would email people and be like, hey, I'm interested in doing an entry-level job in marketing or finance, like, who should I contact? And they would give me an email of someone else. And I'd always attach my resume and always try to ask something like, hey, if you like my resume, at least put in a good word for me. And just kind of asking that every time I would meet somebody who worked for Ford, and there's a lot of people in Southeast Michigan who work for Ford, so it's a bit of an advantage there, but networking was the key there. Obviously, I had to work hard, get decent grades. My grades weren't great, actually. I had like a 3.0, but but I had good extracurriculars and a solid amount of experience. I think that really helped with getting my job at Ford Motor Company. So I got a job offer in October, and it pays pretty well. And the cool thing is they give you a company car for my particular job, which is called a zone manager. I basically am a dealership consultant, and so I travel a lot and I meet with dealerships and help them maintain strong financials and strong marketing, things like that. So they give you a company car basically for free. You have to pay taxes on it, but that's about it. And so realizing that, I was like, hey, I'm not going to have a car payment. And for most people, that means, hey, I don't have a car payment. I can pay for a nicer apartment, or go out to drink more, or go travel to California every month, or something like that. But for me, that, in my mind, that was like, hey, that's like $350 to $400 a month that I can spend on a cool car, and I can spend a little bit more on a car because it'll be just a weekend car, because I have the company car on the weekdays. So that was sort of my thought process. And when I started, I got a signing bonus, and that helped too. So they gave me a $5,000 signing bonus, but results may vary. It depends on your experience level and things like that, the sort of offers that you would get. So I got a $5,000 signing bonus, and then they're paying me slightly above the industry average, I would say. Like, it's pretty competitive. Look, just go on Glassdoor.com and type in zone manager for Ford Motor Company, or get the Glassdoor app, and you'll see what it is. That's what I make. And so basically, I was thinking, okay, well, I'll save up for a little bit, get my company car, like, look around and try to find a good deal on something cool. And I was really looking at first I was looking at Honda S2000, Porsche Boxster, and a Lotus Elise. But then I came across a Porsche Cayman, and I didn't think Porsche Caymans were in my budget. So I was doing my late night Auto Trader shopping, and I found a Porsche Cayman that was like 10 miles from me for $20,000 or $21,000. And I was like, no way, there's no way this thing is $21,000. And it was this car, great condition, dark blue exterior, tan interior, which is exactly how I would spec it. Like when I go on Porsche.com and build my own 911 or whatever, which I'm sure all of us have done for our favorite car companies, I spec blue exterior, tan interior, manual transmission. That's Bose sound system. That's exactly how I would expect it. And so it's relatively high mileage for a Porsche. I got it. It had just under 73,000 miles. So that's why the price was a little bit low. But initially I was like, all right, this is cool. This might be a chance to test drive a Porsche Cayman. I wasn't even thinking about buying it at that point. So this was probably like February 30th, 2016, somewhere around there, late February. I was like, all right, it'll be fun to go test drive it. So I go to this dealership called Exotic Motors in Chicago, and I'm like, hey, I want to test drive your Porsche Cayman that you have. They were like, sure, let's take it for a drive. Took it for a drive, and I instantly fell in love. I was blown away by how good this car is. And that's generally what people say who are into Porsches, is just drive one and then you'll see. Because initially I was like, oh, Porsche, that's like the sort of midlife crisis car or whatever. But then I drove it and I was like, wow, okay, this is awesome. How can I buy this? I had this sort of sinking feeling in my gut that, like, am I gonna buy this? I can't not buy this at this price point. So I slept on it, came to my senses a little bit, and actually initially at the dealership, I sort of indulged the guy, and he was like, hey, do you want to, like, here, we'll like see how we can finance it for you. And so I was like, okay, sure. Like, I don't have any credit history or anything like that. So he like did the whole financing process, told me I could finance the vehicle with $5,000 down and a 10% interest rate. I was like, okay, this is definitely not happening, which was sad. So I slept on it and I was like, okay, this is like, I'll have to wait a while, build up some credit history, get my credit score a little bit better, so I can bring that interest rate down. But then a friend of mine, my good friend Sean, he heard about this, and I texted him pictures and stuff like that. He's also a Porsche fan, and he was like, hey dude, you should go to the credit union, which I'm a member of the University of Michigan Credit Union, and they'll give you a great interest rate. They gave me under 3% interest rate right out of college. I was like, seriously? So I was like, all right, well, there's no harm in trying. Like, what's the worst that could happen? They'll just deny me or something. So I went through the process of applying, and radar detector. So I went through the process of applying, and they got back to me, and they were like, 2.9% interest rate. I was like, no way. I have no credit history, virtually no credit history, a ton of college debt, and they were like, wow. Or I was like, wow, maybe I can afford this. So I calculated, I was like, okay, now insurance. Insurance is going to be the killer here. Because with my down payment and stuff, I could get my monthly payment down to under $350 a month. And given my rent and other expenses, I was like, I can afford $350 a month, but what's the insurance going to be? So I went through all the various insurance options, and insurance was quoting me like $250 to $300 a month. And I was like, all right. And then I had a second moment of, okay, this definitely isn't happening anymore. And I was sad about that. But then one option, so AIG and Progressive had an option of a for pleasure only car, which is typically keeping your mileage under 5,000 or 6,000 a year. So I was like, okay, let me check that. So I checked that, and it brought my payment down to under $100 a month. And I was like, holy crap, this could work. I'm gonna have a company car. It's gonna be only a weekend car. I'm probably gonna leave it back at home in Ann Arbor, and then just come home on the weekends and drive it. And I'll probably not even be home every weekend. So this might actually work. And so I did my calculations, and I was like, okay, I can actually afford this, given my salary, which is around like $60,000, plus a little bit of bonus stuff. And I was like, holy crap, I can actually afford a Porsche Cayman like this. This seems too good to be true. And so I took it to a mechanic. I had the mechanic inspect it. I made sure they test drove it, looked at the engine, looked at the transmission. They said the only issue is that you're probably going to want to get the tie rod replaced, which is like a $400 to $500 thing, but you'll probably be okay for the next couple months. So I was like, all right, I'm young, I'm dumb, and sometimes you just have to do stupid things. And I know car enthusiasts hate this, and the general rule of thumb is you shouldn't finance a used performance vehicle. But I was like, you know what, worst case scenario, it breaks down, and then I just use the company car until I can afford to repair it, or I just sell it, maybe lose a few dollars on it. But I just really wanted the experience of owning and driving a Porsche. So I went through with it, obviously, since I'm in here. So I went with the credit union loan, took the like $350 a month payment, went with the $100 a month insurance to keep it under $5,000 a month, or $5,000 miles per year, and I couldn't be happier. So far, I haven't regretted it at all. It's been so much fun. I love this car. It doesn't, so someone in the comments said, like, it doesn't have the same character of a Miata. True, it doesn't have the same character as a Miata. I'll grant you that. But it has leather seats, cruise control. It actually gets better gas mileage than the Miata. It's a Porsche. It has way more practical space. I actually have a tire right there and a tire in the front trunk, and I already brought another 2 tires to Chicago because the guy that I'm selling the Miata to wants the summer tires and rims and the snow tires and rims, which is good because, as you can see, it's snowing, and this is mid-April. Radar detector. So it's been awesome, and I haven't regretted it at all. It's such a fun car, and I'll get to a full review eventually. I don't want to try to do a full review in this video, but yeah, that's basically the how I managed to buy a Porsche right out of college at 23 years old, which I know it's not as impressive as other people who are like, how I bought a Lamborghini at 21, that sort of thing. I'm not in that boat. I'm not that smart. I'm a pretty normal person. Like I said, I wasn't a genius in school or anything. I just worked hard in school, did my best, networked really hard, got a decent job right out of college, and so that's where I am. If I had any advice, I would say, if you want to go with my path, which is sort of the by the book sort of thing, it's pretty simple. Like, go to a good college, get a marketable degree. My degree is in economics. Get a job that you'll enjoy going to every day, that'll pay you well. And I guess the key thing is look out for the perks. So my job gives me a company car, basically for free, and that's what allowed me to keep my insurance payments so low on the Porsche. So yeah, that's my advice. That's how I got it. It's pretty conventional method. You don't have to be a millionaire. Well, obviously you don't have to be a millionaire. You don't have to be a genius or anything. Like, it's pretty basic stuff, but I've gotten the question enough times that it seemed worth it to do a video. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.